Hi, this is Randy Kirk, and boy, am I excited today. I have got Herbert Ong with us today. And Herbert, of course, has his show Brighter with Herbert. And man, if you don't get brighter when you're watching that show, then I don't know how to help you. So we're not going to bury the lead today. We're not going to talk about anything else before we talk about earnings, because let's face it, we're all excited and interested in that. Herbert, what in the world is going on? The stock has gone nuts.
It's gone nuts, and we're very happy. It's gone nuts from 100 to 180, right? Which is shocking that it did that today. But I tell you, Randy, this is the thing that gets me excited. Is like people go, oh, it's 100. It's it's going to take a year before it gets to 150. It's another year before it gets back up to 200. No, if it can fall from 500 to, from 300 to 100 in 2 months, it can rise up from 100 to 300 in 2 months as well. Not saying that that's what it's going to do, but
this is not investment advice. Do your own
investment advice, but that's sort of my philosophy, right? It's like, don't give yourself don't ever look at the stock price as a measure of the fundamentals. So very excited about that, but let's go right to earnings. So that happened just Wednesday, a few days ago. And the thing for me was, the best statement out there is that when he said, let's put this concern to rest, demand, right? So he said in quotes, in January, we received the most orders in our history. Demand exceeded production. And he also said in regards to price cuts, demand is 2 times the production since price cuts. So for me, that was critical. Very happy that he actually guided low to 1.8 million, which is something that I really prefer them to do, is make sure that happens. And then later, when he was asked about it in the Q&A, he clarified, he says, I actually believe that our internal production is going to be closer to 2 million vehicles, which is what its run rate is now. But we're only saying 1.8 because just in case there's a force majeure that happens, and we never know what's going to happen in this world. So very happy that he did that. Also very happy that he reiterated the guidance for 50% average growth rate. Not this specifically this year per se, but over time. Mm-hmm. That's something that, again, everybody needed to hear, because they wanted to be sure that even during a recession, we still are going to hit numbers close to 50%. Whether or not it hits or not, that's not that important. What matters is that it's still growing as a company. So other than that, I thought that, he said best year ever in every level. It was beat on the top and the bottom line, record quarterly profits. The Q4 profit was 37% higher than the Q4 21. That generated so much cash. And again, the cash keeps growing now to $22.2 billion. So when I looked it up after the Q4 earnings, the bear case that I saw was, the one guy was saying that the Q4 auto gross margin, though, was a miss, right? It was 25.9% versus 28.4% consensus, and the free cash flow was 1.42 billion instead of 3 billion. And so, and they're saying, well, this is before the 18% price cuts. So that's a disaster, since they said that, the stock is valued at 50% growth rate, and they're clearly not going to do that. Well, okay. So, my reaction to that is that, well, first of all, the stock has fallen significantly from 300 to 100, now to 180. And so it's already taken care of this issue of, are they going to hit the 50% or not number? And two, it's like this fourth quarter, the growth margin was affected by the higher raw materials, logistics, commodity prices. The lithium price was through the roof. And so this is not what we're going to see in Q1 and ongoing, because the gigafactories are still ramping up. We're going to see efficiencies there. We're going to see efficiencies in 4680. And so Zach was able to address that in the earnings call, saying that, listen, these things are happening, and we're going to see gross margins improve. And then he said, right, we're still going to, we're still shooting for, what is it that he said exactly, that we're still shooting for like at least over 20% and 47,000 as the ASPs.
Now, where did those two numbers come from? Because the reporter asked the question, and he threw out the number 47,000 and the number 20%. Were those numbers somewhere that he was grabbing them from, or were those his numbers? Or do you know? I don't know.
I don't know. I think the 20% auto gross margin, 47 across all models. That's the number I think that they were estimating that the consensus was for this year. And then he's saying, hey, for
consensus.
next year, it's going to be higher than what your guys are thinking is going to be.
All right. So that's what I was wondering, because if that was a number that Tesla had ever talked about, it's different than if it's just coming from a reporter. So the number could be substantially higher than that.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be. Yeah, they just want it to be sure. It's going to be higher than what you guys expect. The expectations are from the guidance.
So and so the other thing I thought was that if we already have orders coming in at a rate double what the production capacity is, and he's already raised the price on one Model Y variant, isn't it just really a matter potentially, if that continues, if those numbers continue to be that high, aren't we just going to see price increases in other variants as well as the year progresses?
I don't think so personally. And the reason I'm saying no is that what they hinted at the Q4, right? They said that operating margin is what we're going to focus on.
Right.
And then Martin Viecha sent a tweet out, and he said, "This is the chart of all of the decks that was in the shareholder deck that I'm most excited about." And it was that table. I don't know if you saw that, where it showed operating margin as a red line going up, and then they're showing the ASPs of the cars being flat over the years as the years go on.
I saw it.
And basically, they're saying we're going to keep working on operating margins to be much higher, and that's going to be the key focus for the company. And there's also a statement by Elon, right, about our ultimate goals to have the cars to be as affordable as possible for everybody. So they did these massive price cuts. And so are they going to start raising the price again later? They've hinted at that, right? Like you said, they raised the price for the Model Y, and they're saying this is only for the first quarter. But I actually think that they have a lot of room to even do further price cuts, which they might do if there isn't a severe recession. And so it's like a nail. It's going to be a nail in the coffin. That's it. It's done. Competitors are already scrabbling to this, massive price cut. They don't know how to respond to it. They don't have the profitability to do this for the electric vehicle division. Imagine if they did it again.
Or for the ICE cars. They can't
the ICE cars
lower their ICE cars either. Yeah.
You saw the price elasticity curve, where every 5,000 reduction in the ASPs, it's going to skyrocket. Now that goes counter to what he just said, which is we're going to keep the ASPs over 47,000. So it's possible that you're right, that I think they're going to try to hit their margins, but if they find ways to reduce the margin because of operating efficiencies, they might pass it along. I don't know.
Well, my major thought was if there's ends up car flipping again, if it gets to the place where the order book is 9 months out, which could happen rapidly at these levels, then if they get way out there and people start flipping cars again, I think he's going to raise the prices again. That would be my thinking, and also some strategic increases, working towards that margin increase. I think it might be one model in Australia and a different model in Singapore, but just differences and changes based on markets and based on models. I think we'll see, but who knows?
You're right. Actually, I mean, their production, the whole point was, are you demand constraint or production constraint? And at this point, he's made it clear we're production constraint. And so you can't lower the prices more when you got production constraint at this point, because we're going to sell every car we make. We're going to be at 2 million, maybe even more. And we're going to sell all of it because we cut the prices. Even if, and then I love when he said that even if there's a severe recession, our margins are only going to get better because the commodity prices are going to be much better. So it's almost like you can't lose at this point. So knock on wood, but it's looking good.
Now, do you think that there's that the 2 million is a real number, or do you think that potentially it's above 2 million?
I think it's going to be higher than 2 million. I think that's why I'm saying I'm so glad that they sandbagged it to 1.8. But their production is at 2 million. And so I think they're saying if there is a force majeure, they can't control war and the some sort of supply chain, delivery, logistics kind of thing, then they're going to get hit. The COVID thing, you can't do that. So he said, what did he say? He said, it just seems like every single year we've been having something like this happen. So let's go ahead and just call it 1.8.
All right. So now the big story that there's two big stories really that I think have been underreported and one of them is like still in the mist. The first one is energy storage. And of course, they spend a lot of time on energy storage. A lot of people in our world, in the Twitter world and in the YouTube world, are talking about energy storage. Do you think that any of this run up of the last week has had anything to do with energy storage, or is this mostly about short covering and people being, hey, wow, this is a new conservative look? And I mean, do you think the street gets it yet, or even begins to get it about energy storage?
Zero. Of course not. You know this better than I. We already talked about this. No, zero. None of this run up has got anything to do with storage or energy. I just had a space right now, and we were just talking about this, where these market makers, these institutional investors, these analysts, they do not have anything in their light items until it's actually making money and until it's actually making sales. And right now, as far as when you look back at Q4, the energy for Tesla is minimal profit, in fact, negative profit for the Q4, right? Mm-hmm. So no, none of that. And it's only us retail investors who are getting excited about the upside of margin and also sales for Q4 in the latter half of this year, correct? So I think what's making the stock run up right now from 100 to 180 in the last 3 weeks to a month, again, I was just on a call, and these traders were saying that it's really these options, unusual options that was happening. And so that may mean that this run up may not last. Yeah. It may not be something that's based on anything. And again, we already know, right? Let's just be clear. We know this, just to be clear, the stock is no longer connected to reality. It's not connected to anything to do with fundamentals, and do not make your decisions based on stock price. Oh, the stock went down, it must be worth this at this point, right? We don't believe that. And that's why you have to maintain your conviction. It is not worth 100. It's not worth 200. It's worth 300 or higher. And I know that for a fact. So sure. Why did it jump from 100 to 180? He says it's because of option trading. I think that, the Q4, you saw another jump up at that point. So this is why did it fall, right? We talk about why did it fall. There was three main issues, right? It was softening in China demand concern that people were having. Right. It was the issue with COVID. Which part of the softening demand? But no, it's the issue about Elon buying Twitter. Right. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what the third thing was. But those are the
overall branding.
Branding impact again.
Branding.
Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So so that's what it is, right? His spending more, buying more Tesla shares to do that. Well, let's examine that, right? The only thing that remains is his Twitter activities, but we know that they nailed the coffin on the head, and they said that there is no demand issues, and so I think that's why we saw the jump since Wednesday to 2 days later, that it's gone up 10% plus another 8% today. So I just think that it's like always the way it is, a pendulum, right? It's overhit at 100. That's ridiculous. Everybody knew that. And so now it's coming back to reality again, and people just need something a little bit more kind of solid ground to start believing in and start deciding to put money in. And right now, the big issue is macro. That's the fourth. Sure. That's the main issue of why its stock fell. Yeah. And we're starting to see some good signs. And so I actually think, and again, had some discussions with folks, that the stock price rise now to 180. I don't think it actually has built in yet any potential in the macro improving. That's still not there. So if the macro does improve, and if there is some more signs of that, and maybe a potential pivot in the future, I think it's going to it's the growth stocks like Tesla. These are the ones that are going to fall last to fall, but first to rise. And it's got still a room to go. I'm an optimist though. So don't believe in me. I still believe that this thing is going to go up high, but that's, most people will say it won't, right? It's going to level off. It'll fall some more, then it'll rise some more, then it'll fall some more. But that's just not the way I think.
Well, it is a story stock. It's always been a story stock. And nice. We do have a great storyteller as our leader, Yeah. Elon Musk is a great storyteller. That's part of his charm, is that he has a mission. The mission is clear. He repeats the mission. He's willing to go on these long form interviews and sit down with folks and tell the story in detail. And so people believe the story. They believe in him as our leader. And then if you have a story stock and there's chips in the story, Well, then the narrative switches. Literally,
Nice.
the narrative switches. And when the narrative switches, you can overshoot like just happened. But now the narrative is switching again. The narrative now is this is just an obvious 50% a year growth into infinity. It's like laughable that we're only going to do 1.8 million cars, and that would still be within our 50% projection. He actually laughed when he said it. So the story now is 1.8. That's laughable. In a recession, we're going to do 2 million. And nobody else can even come close. And we're still going to hit our margins, and we're still going to make all this money in a recession. So imagine what happens when we get back into the good times. So I think the narrative switch might have been a big part of what took place.
Agreed. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. The third, this is my 3 pillars. Okay.
Yeah.
And you and I think are going to talk about this more on Monday or Tuesday, whenever you're going to run that particular show. But and that is Reno, Sparks.
Yeah.
I mean, that is way bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. It's bigger than if they had announced a gigafactory, because the typical gigafactory, you're talking about 500,000 cars. In this case, you're talking about 500,000 gigawatts of batteries, in addition to 50,000 or more semi-trucks. That it's 3.5 or more billion just in energy tax cuts from the federal government if they just do 100 gigawatts of energy. I mean, of batteries. So that's at $35 a kilowatt. They're going to get 3.5 billion handed to them by the government just for the first 100 gigawatts.
Yeah, and this is why I was shocked, and maybe you are as well, that the stock did not move when they did the Giga Nevada announcement.
It should have gone up 100 points.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what is Tesla? Tesla is batteries, and the energy business and the car business is all about the batteries. And when they made the announcement of the expansion of the Giga Nevada and the 100 gigawatt target, but then he said, we're going to actually shoot for 500. And then you calculate that each one of those is like, what was it? 1.2 million cars or something like that. It's amazing. And this is what the company's based on. And this is their, it's unlimited demand, whether or not they want to sell that in cars, or they'll sell it on power walls or energy mega packs. They'll use those batteries. So, right. That announcement should have been the reason why the stock jumps. But again, I don't know why people don't understand Tesla's a battery company.
I think that headline. Well, I made a video last week, and I talked about the fact that I think when you're in a risk-off environment, when the entire world has got the money sitting on the sidelines and everybody's risk-off, you can say that you're going to cure cancer and that the pills are already in the bottle, ready to ship, and you're not going to get a bump on your stock. Okay, because risk off, people are not looking for that story. But man, that was an announcement that should have moved the stock. And I don't think anybody's even paying attention. I mean, yes, of course, the retail investors and the YouTubers were paying attention, but the world at large, that just went right over their head.
It was the missing piece, right? Which is, how are we going to get to 2 million cars next year, and then do Cybertrucks and semi and mega packs? Where's all these batteries going to come from? Well, as you'll see in the milestone list, right? There was a lithium refinery that launched, that actually broke ground and started to move forward now. And then we got this announcement of Giga Nevada. It answered the questions that we needed to answer. And this isn't the end. There's going to be other kind of battery factories announced. There's going to be other mega pack factories. So, but this was the missing piece. Like, now that we know this, now you can truly calculate for the next several years, where's this batteries going to come from?
Yeah. And, I always like to watch the body language, and also, when he was asked, when are they going to start building more battery storage factories? Yeah. And you could see him thinking. He actually, almost see the steam coming out of his ears. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's really top of mind, and we will be making announcements." I don't think I'm not sure that they have that lined up as much as maybe they should, but I have a feeling it's way up on the top of their list right now as to where those next factors are going.
I think we're going to hear about it on March 1st.
You'll think March 1st we'll actually hear about some additional...
I guarantee it. March 1st is Investor Day. It's about long-term expansion plans. Yeah. It's about Master Plan Part 3. Yeah. We're going to hear about his massive kind of goals of how to solve energy issues in the entire world. They're going to maybe announce a few more, I maybe not the gigafactories, but certainly plans to build more megapack factories. And lithium refineries and all those things. That that's what I hear, and that's what I expect it to be. Yeah.
Well, you created the segue for yourself just a minute ago, and the segue is to talk about your milestones. And so, first of all, tell me about milestones. I'm not sure, the folks in my particular audience, maybe they follow you. I hope they do, but if they don't, they should follow this guy. He's a great YouTuber and amazing to hear his materials. But talk to me about milestones. What is the essence of why you do milestones? What is your kind of, how does that fit into the story, the narrative, into your financial thinking,
Right. Okay. So, basically, we'll go through my background, but I'm a startup founder. I founded 3 startups, and my profession is in product management. So I help build products, both digital products as well as health analytic reports and those kind of things. And as a product guy, I am very much into kind of watching a business and a product go through different milestones and what goals that they have. And that's how I evaluate whether or not something is successful or not, right? So when I invested in Apple early on, I'm so enthralled by Steve Jobs and, one of the greatest product managers out there in the world, and how he designed his company and how he designed the product. Elon Musk, he's not just looking at the products, right? The company is his product, the factory is the product. And so it is just brilliant what he's done. And he's knocked out of the park with 5 or 6 companies he started. And so I started to follow all the key milestones, and just for fun, right? I also think that it's an important thing in history.
Oh.
So you and I happen to be here at the moment when history is happening in front of our eyes. And it's hard for anybody to disagree with that statement.
Right.
Right. Yep. So when
you and I are chronicling it.
We're chronicling. That's why I'm excited about. That's why I'm doing what it is. I want to be part of history. I want to just make sure that I was there. And like every moment that happens, when the Tesla bot was first shown, I didn't care whether or not it did anything. I don't care if it was just a torso. It's a moment in history they're gonna look back and go, that was a day where we all saw what it was about to be. And then 10 years later, here's how the world has changed, right? And Tesla is doing that left, right, and center. And so for me, I track milestones, and I started doing that for Tesla. So I created a table of all the milestones that Tesla's ever done from 2003 in its inception to 2021. Wow. And then last year, I created a milestone for 2022. And in January of last year, we were like, the Tesla Twitter community, we were like all through the roof excited. We just hit all-time highs, and we couldn't believe all the things that Tesla was going to accomplish in 2022. Yeah. And so my milestone list took off. People loved it. And then, a couple quick comments about 2022 milestone list. It is not Catalyst. So a lot of people made fun of it, going, oh, you thought the stock was going to just skyrocket when each of these milestones were hit. Now, first of all, I don't call them catalysts. I actually don't know which milestone is a catalyst for the stock and which one's owned. Mm-hmm. The only one that I can guarantee is a catalyst is the earnings. Mm-hmm. Every quarter, when you see the earnings, if they are good earnings, you will see Tesla stock rise. Not only for that first week, it will rise consistently for the next several months. And after it
falls during the meeting.
Sure, exactly, which we know, except right? This time. Everything else, they're like maybe a blip that day or blip that day. And I'll tell you something as a product manager that I know already for a fact is true, that a lot of people don't know. Product announcements and product demos do not move the stock, which is shocking. So when they showed the demo of the Tesla bot, it's like you don't see the stock skyrocket the next day. So don't get excited with these kind of presentations, because only you and I get excited because we know it's moment in history. Right. But investors And these big institutional investors, they don't see that. So wanted to make clear that it's not about catalysts.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the stock fell drastically since January of last year to the end of December last year, 2022. But take a look at the milestone list. Look at all the things this company accomplished, and just tell yourself and remind yourself that that's what matters. If you overlay the stock chart over to the milestone list from 2003, 2021, you bet milestones matter. You bet the stock chart follows milestones. You can't help it when a company's growing, it's generating cash, it's developing products that people are buying, and it eventually catches up. The stock catches up to it. So that's the difference. I think I track milestones, not catalysts. And so they need to be sizable, that they're meaningful. So I don't track every little thing that happens. I have another table that I track every single day event.
Wow.
But what I only put on this is really just things that are truly sizable, that is significant, that will make a difference to the company's progress and growth over time.
Wow. So you're keeping a separate one where you're tracking every significant daily event.
Yep, I do that. And I tweeted it out one time and nobody gave it crap. So people don't care so much about the history of what happened last month.
Right.
They want to know what's going to happen in the future. And they only want to know the important things, right? But I keep this list just because, again, it's like, I just like to know, the date that Elon tweeted out this political statement that is like, ridiculous, but he did it on this date, and nobody cares, but it doesn't end up to being matter, but it matters to me just to keep track of everything that's happened. I'm excited. This is the most exciting company in the world.
So then I think you want to talk to us about the milestones you've got on your list for 23, some of which I think have already been passed, but maybe we'll throw that up on the screen, and that's much better. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look at your milestones for 2023, some of which already have the green done next to them. That's pretty cool. So this is in development. So if anybody who's watching this want to give me lists that they think is missing, that's important, please send it to me. I'm still this is how I do it. Basically, I follow all the key important people that tell me what they think is coming, that's important. And then I just collect them all together and put it in place. But things change all the time, as you know. And so it's one of those things that it's not set in stone. This isn't something that I'm the only list guy that has the right stuff, right? But it's important for me to try to do that. So let's go down the list and have a conversation about each one of these. But the EV credit was announced in June of last year, 2022. It was supposed to go in effect in January 1st. It definitely is a major milestone. Absolutely.
This is a government basically giving individual credits to buyers of electric vehicles. And this is a sizable amount of $7,500. So there's still some confusion, of course, with people not knowing what's in and out. And we're going to wait for that to happen, but not necessarily a catalyst yet, but it will be a major impact. And you have to ask who's going to have the most benefit out of it. So that's a big deal. We all know that.
Sure.
The fourth quarter production deliveries came out, and this was the 405,000 units, which was deemed to be disappointing.
Big miss.
Big miss. But step back and think, oh my gosh, it's the first quarter with 400,000 units delivered ever.
Yes.
So last year in January of 2022, we hit 300,000. And so everybody said, the next milestone was when the first quarter that has 400,000 units should be a milestone. So I had to already put this in a long time ago. We hit it. And instead of everybody rejoicing, it's like, oh my God, the company can now produce 400,000 units per quarter. It was considered a miss compared. Again, you're looking at it from a stock perspective rather than from a company perspective.
Yes, of course. Yes. And of course, and that goes to just once again to the story aspect. If the story is 450 or 440 and you do 405, it doesn't even matter if you could prove that every one of the 40,000 that were sitting on ships are sold. It doesn't matter. The story is off, at least for now. Yeah.
Yep. Here's you and I just talked about this. We did a show on this. It's like, this is probably the biggest news ever. And yet not a single news outlet talked about it. Even us in the community didn't really talk about it a lot. Texas lithium refinery broke ground on January 4th. That's a big deal. This is Tesla getting into lithium refinery. And he was asked, don't these refineries take 7 years before you can actually produce anything? He goes, well, in our projections, it's 2 years. They have revolutionized. They've got ideas of how they're going to make this happen faster. Lithium is a bottleneck. It's a sky high pricing right now. It's the reason, you cannot accomplish sustainable energy without lithium. And it forced Tesla to get into the energy business vertically integrated. So this is going to become a bigger deal than we all believe, because this is going to be the thing.
It's already a big deal, because it's very, very likely that just breaking ground on this factory has already affected the price of lithium.
Right.
Just like we've talked for years about, I can remember when Trump went on television and said, I can't do anything about the high price of gas. And I'm sitting there thinking, yes, you can. You can bully pulpit it, and the price of gas will go down. All you have to do is talk about increasing the amount of U.S. production or taking it out of the reserve or whatever else. You can bully pulpit and the price will go down. Well, this is like the same thing. And he did, and the price went down. And this is the same thing. So just the fact that there's this refinery coming on board, the lithium makers and the lithium market makers are already reducing the price out on the marketplace. Yeah.
Oh, big deal. Now, normally I wouldn't bother putting price cuts in as a milestone, but this was different. This is global price cuts, 18% average around the world, happened in January 12th. And it's a big deal, because in my mind, the reason why it's such a big deal, like bigger than we realize, is not only the fact that they're going to save 2023 and they're going to be able to increase their volumes because there's a recession coming, all that. And it's not only the fact that they're going to be able to compete better with the competitors, and now they're in trouble. These competitors have to kind of match these prices, and that it's going to increase their addressable market. The reason why I think it's such a massive big deal is because of what you've been saying this whole show, which is the narrative and the kind of the equity, the brand equity, what people see Tesla. So Tesla's done a fantastic job being seen as a premium company. Amazing cars, very expensive cars, the best tech that you could possibly get, worth why you're spending so much money. Well, what happens when now every single person, all my friends, my family, they know that there's massive price cuts. They now think of Tesla as affordable.
Yeah.
What happens when you think of a brand that's not only premium, but also affordable? It's like, what? Like, Apple sells phones, and we know that it's $1,000 and they don't do budget phones. But what happens if Apple starts selling really good phones that, and they have different ways to do it, but yeah, it's just an amazing thing. Well, I think
they did that. And of course, I'm sure you saw the headline. Maybe it should be on the Milestones, Model 3 lease at $399 a month.
Yeah. So it's like crazy affordable.
Tesla's offering a Model 3 lease at $399. And what that caused me to remember was that 20 years ago, my lease on a Jag was $650 a month.
That's
20
expensive.
Years ago.
That's crazy back then. But yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry. That was 30 years ago. 30 years ago.
And so the price cuts of the new cars, it caused the used cars to go down. And so at this point, anybody can buy a Tesla. You can buy an old Tesla Model 3 for under $30,000. Yeah. So I think it's a big deal. Again, it's just you have to think about what it means, not only this year, but ongoing. I just talked about it just now, the Giga Nevada expansion of the Semi into 4680. And I know that you're big on the Semi business, but right now I'm not. And you're going to teach me why I should be more excited about the Semi business. But it's the 4680 that matters most, as we just said, batteries, and the sheer volume, 500 megagawatts, and that they're going to continue to invest more in that. And then just a few days ago, we had the Q4 earnings and record. We just covered that at the beginning of this call. So all of this now done. This is just January. Part of the reason, by the way, that I have to be careful. I can't keep adding too many of this, because there's a length of the list that when I tweet it out, I don't want it to be like this long, right? So that's only the reason I do that. But
I'll tell you though, I have a suspicion that the list is going to get a lot longer after March 1st.
Yes. Well, I maybe not, but let's see, because I do have like 5 items that are all going to appear in March 1st, but let's talk about that. So, we've kind of like now been waiting for V11 for full self-driving. It's been out since November, December last year, but it's only been to employees. And so we have all been waiting for it. Elon keeps saying it's famous. It's going to come out in 2 weeks, but it's single stack, right? This is the single stack where the software that drives the highways with the city streets and the parking lots will all be in one thing. And then Elon also said that not only is that we're now using neural nets, not only for driving, but also for navigating and controls. Right. And so that is just, again, this seems to be the reason why it's been delayed. It's a big deal. And we've been waiting for it. And then we already had FSD's kind of wide release where everybody's using it now. Right. But this could be a step factor change. I don't know, because he always says that it's fire, and it doesn't turn out to be fire. But it's a thing that's learning on its own. So it's fire when he looks at it from what they built in the software, but when it actually comes out, it doesn't, work really well. But what they built was something that learns on its own. And so now with the new neural nets, it's going to be able to accelerate and learn really quickly. And so when it comes out, it's not something that's going to like blow you away, but a month later, all of a sudden it'll do things. Yeah. So
clearly, if there's a milestone, that's a milestone for sure.
Version 11 in particular, single stack. So Investor Relations Day, they made that announcement March 1st. There's a couple of reasons why we think that this is the case. Alexander Mertz did a great job explaining why they chose March 1st. There's a annual shareholder meeting you'll see here on May 16th. And that shareholder meeting used to be in September, used to be later in the year, and they've sequentially kept moving it closer and closer to the middle of the year. And why did they jump it from May? Like now they moved it to May this year. And the reason they're doing the Investor Relations Day 2 months before is because this is a very specific, important annual shareholder meeting. So if you're not following Alexander Mertz, she's at Tesla Boomer Mama, and she has kind of outlined all the major things that that investors could actually vote, board members, Elon, and so it's critical for Tesla to get ahead of the game, and that's why they're doing Investor Relations Day. That's one, and of course the other reason is that stock fell dramatically in 2022, and we've been saying, hey, you haven't talked to us in a while. We're suffering here. A lot of shareholders suffered, so they need to come out and say something. So March 1st, right? The 4 things that they're going to talk about: long-term expansion plans. So that's getting more gigafactories, maybe more megapack factories announced, Gen 3 platform. So this is where I talk about the compact and robotaxi Gen 3 reveal, maybe, or at the very least, some sort of explanation of what that is all about. Capital allocation, what does that mean? It could mean anything, but one of them, it could be a buyback potentially and sequential buybacks every single year, and then other subjects with our leadership team. So that's why I mean by after the Investor Relations Day, I've got the Gen 3 here. I fully expect the Master Plan Part 3 to be announced. Normally, the Master Plans are not announced at events. Mm-hmm. Usually a blog post.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because Elon likes to explain everything in detail. And so it's a long blog post that's just automatically just sent out. It's not an event per se, but during the event, they'll talk more about it and he'll continue to repeat his mission and why he's doing that.
Now, maybe a missing milestone from that day, or it could happen after that day, but they just mentioned it was kind of a throwaway line at the additional commercial vehicles.
That's going to be mind-blowing. That's going to use 4680, right?
Yeah. So what's
the mind-blowing part? I find, because you've said that a million times, and they are mind-blowing, but we're like, okay, but the 4680 thing is like, what are we talking about? Right. And so I think that the Gen 3, I think that you're referring to, is not just going to be the compact car, not just a robotaxi. It's probably what they've been saying, a platform. It's going to be a minivan. It might be a
small
like
pickup.
Other pickup, other kind of versions of it.
I mean, people have differentiated between a standard looking pickup and the Cybertruck. But
Mm.
I've long since given up on that idea. I think once the Cybertruck comes out, the standard looking pickup's going to look like something from a past decade.
Yes.
But a small pickup, a 2-door, a little runaround for painters and people like that, little, people that say, that's a pretty good sized market also. And it would fit on that smaller platform.
Yeah, when they say modular, I've been asking, I think I asked you this question, I've asked a bunch of people, what do you think they mean when they say modular?
Yeah.
And I think most are saying that, well, it's going to be this, this skateboard,
Yeah.
and then you're going to be able to put in different kinds of configurations. And one's going to be a compact car, one's going to be a robo-taxi, one's going to be a small pickup, maybe a minivan,
right?
And different variations of the theme. And that's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing that I am most excited about is, again, I love how you set up this interview today, is because it's about the narrative. And right now, the bears say that Tesla is an auto company. It's just another auto company. But in March 1st, after Investor Relations Day, and they say, we are going to hit this many megapack factories. We're going to build more gigapack factories. This is what our master plan. Is that enough to finally tell people that we're an energy company? That could be when they start talking more about megapacks and the profits and margins of that.
And Elon said the other day, he says, some people say I don't know if he said it this way, but some people say we're a car company. Some people say we're a battery company, but what we are is an AI company.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. That's right. I'm still a step behind. We're not an energy company. We're an AI company. That is all true. But you know what I mean? Like in terms of we're still friggin' seen as an auto company. And so the next step is an energy company.
Right.
And the next
step
is an AI company.
I think you're 100% right that the narrative almost has to go through the next step of energy, meaning batteries and battery storage, and battery applications. Who cares what the host is, whatever the battery goes in. In order to get to AI, it can't be a one jump. You almost have to go through the battery stage where people say, well, yes, what they really are is a battery and energy company or something. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. If you're a battery and you're an AI company, you can make any product. They can make I think there was can you make us a blow dryer that doesn't, a leaf blower that doesn't make noise and doesn't pollute the environment? And he goes, maybe one day in the future. Well, if they create mini batteries and they have AI, you're going to be able to create this product, right? It's so easy.
Yep.
Anyways, so the buyback, I know people don't want it and they complain about it, but the board has already agreed to doing it, and they just don't know when the right time is, and it's a massive recession. They don't want to do it. That's fine. But as an investor, it's the thing that gets me excited. So I think if, Elon has said the way you value a company is doing discounted cash flow. You look at the forward future potential cash that we're going to get and bring it back down. Well, when you do that exercise with Tesla, it is nutty. It's crazy how much money, billions and billions and billions, that they're going to create every year for the next 5 years and onward. And so when I look at Apple, the reason why its stock has 10x, 20x from where it was 5-10 years ago, it's because of majorly because of buybacks, because they're a cash machine. They're just producing cash like crazy. Well, Tesla is going to be double, triple that. Yeah. And so as an investor, if that's all they did was just the cars and they got the cash and then they do cash buyback, as an investor, if you look at from that perspective, you're going to do very, very well, because that's what drives stock up, is when they buy back the stock, the cash. Okay. And so Q1 production and deliveries, we're waiting for that on April 2nd. Some people are thinking that this is going to be, I have no idea what's going to happen here, because now that they did their price cuts, we're probably going to get higher there. And then in earnings, we'll see what the impact is to margin. And then again, this could be another turning point. If they can show higher margins and still hitting the production deliveries, now the whole story for 2023 changes, and no worries. So I know shareholder meetings May 16th. I put this in because I put it in last year, 2022, at the December, by December 2022, which is Tesla Energy will go live at one state. And it happened.
Yeah.
So when you saw it in the list in 2022, it's like, who knows? whatever, but it happened. And this is another one of those big giant things that happened that people are like, well, they're not registering, right? This is now Tesla acting as a utility, selling energy and letting their customers a virtual power plant and letting their customers with the power walls to be able to make money. And it's live in Texas.
Yeah. So now let's be clear what you're referring to here. So in Texas, they've actually established an energy company, a separate division, what do you call it, a DBA, or I'm not sure exactly technically what they've done, but that is a company which literally could own its own batteries, own its own solar farms or whatever. But it's currently, I think, just a distributor. And then are they also doing PPV in Texas?
They're a virtual power plant.
I mean, VPP, right? VPP.
Yeah,
so
VPP
they are virtual as well. Okay.
Yep.
Now in California, they're already doing VPP.
Yeah.
Both in Southern and Northern California. Is that count as what you're talking?
I think so. Yeah, it is. But this Tesla Energy went live specifically in Texas. So I don't know the difference between the two, but that is a blueprint. This Tesla Energy will move. And so I put it in as it's going to grow to multiple states.
Okay.
And again, this is the beginnings of Tesla becoming a true energy company, not just selling mega packs to utilities or commercial, but actually acting as an actual utility themselves. Again, just like what? It's mind blowing.
Okay.
I put in AI Day 3. They've said that AI Day is a yearly thing, and it's a recruiting event. And remember AI Day 2, that's when they had the demo of the Tesla bot. That's when they talked about Dojo. And so I fully expect that they're going to demo the Tesla bot again and where it's headed. And then I did put Dojo full production. We heard Elon say in the fourth quarter that Dojo is looking like it's going to replace a significant portion of the NVIDIA cluster by the end of this year. I put it in September only because it's most likely, I believe, that they're going to shoot for the date when they do the AI Day 3. It makes most sense to do it at that same day. But it could be later than that. That's not something they can fully control how much, how fast it can produce. But I just put it in there. The Cybertruck will launch. So one of the greatest things we heard 2 days ago was it's still on track to be launched sometime this year. So the language changed. They initially said mid-year. I think in Q4 earnings call, I heard them say sometime this year. And then they tempered down saying, hey, it's going to take until 2024 before it ramps up in high production. But at least it's going to launch. I think it's very critical that Cybertruck launches this year.
No, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist like you. So I just heard that as being part of the overall conservative nature of the message, because it seems that everything is in place. So unless they have hiccups, I'm expecting kind of a normal ramp. So we'll see a few off the line, and then it'll be 10 a day, or it'll be 100 a week, or and it'll just ramp normally. I don't think it's going to be some slower ramp unless they run into significant problems. But under normal circumstances,
I think what's the nuance here, right? So there's kind of two competing nuances here, right? The first is that Cybertruck is supposed to be easier to make. It's simplified. And they have a GigaPress for this, right? And they've got kind of like no need to paint all that.
Right.
But on the other hand, you've heard Elon say this is going to be the greatest product that Tesla's ever made. It's going to be technology. It's chock full with technology. So I'm just hoping they don't overextend their hand like they did with the Model X with the Gulf wing doors. What are they called? Falcon wing doors. Where it was look cool and it's fantastic and people love it, but it was hell for manufacturing and for Tesla to create. And I think he's admitted that they overextended their hubris in that point. And so that's why I think that they need to kind of, like sandbag a bit, because if I don't know what kind of technology this might have, but if it does, it's gonna be crazy. I did a tweet just last week. No, actually, it's not. I think on Monday. Monday. And it went viral. I don't know what the word viral, but it had like 1 million views on it. It was about the Cybertruck. Yeah. As me saying the Cybertruck is going to be an amazing product. It's going to crush all the competitors. It's going to create an ecosystem for software and services. It's going to create an ecosystem for partners. There's just things that it's going to be able to do that we've never seen before, some new technology.
Yeah.
So, very bombastic statements, but I do think that this is a totally new platform, and it's not just a car, right? It's not just an automobile.
No.
You're going to see technology that you haven't seen before, and it's going to have this ecosystem, like I said. So Cyberlander is this
sure. Yeah.
camper that attaches to it, but it then changes what the meaning of this car is. Yes, it's just a camper. Yes, it's just an RV, but no, because with its technology and attached to it, it's a full experience that you're changing. It's like saying, yes, an iPhone is just a phone.
Right.
No, it's not. There's a whole kind of experience that you have that you're able to do that than other kinds of just phones, especially when you have the App Store. So there's going to be app stores attached to the Cyber. Anyways, I might be overthinking this one. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so continue on. So 4680 in high volume production. I don't even know what that means yet. I need to ask experts. Is it 5,000 a month, 5,000 a week production? And it sure seems like, based on the Nevada factory, that it will take a while for that to expand. But at what point does 4680 get going in Texas itself to that? And I think most people are thinking somewhere in the latter half of the year.
Uh-huh.
The Lathrop Megapack RAM. So you and I you taught me a lot about the Lathrop Megapack factory that we both talked about, how it launched open ground, or you said it was actually just started, like a building that they bought in September 2021. It only took them a year, which is just a few months ago, when it actually started producing and producing in decent numbers. And so it will take until maybe the second half of this year, but very fast. This is like a year and a half. It's all it takes for these Megapack factories to launch. And then the future Megapack factories will probably launch even faster than this. So I think this is going to happen in Q3. And that's why I think you and I both have said this, that we think that there's going to be new Megapack factories announced even before that. This is their first. They've learned a new form factor from the Megapacks, a cheaper, more expensive, and higher margin. And so now they've learned their lessons. They know how to create more and they'll make more.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know what Model 3 Highland is. I don't even know if it's a true project or not, but there's this hint that Model 3 is going to be redesigned. Makes sense. It's been, to have a little redesign to it, but that it's going to be cheaper and better in a few ways. I don't know what that means.
Yep.
I've been saying that, do you need to wait till the compact car comes out? Can't you just take the Model 3, create a variant of it, and then sell it for $5,000 to $10,000 cheaper than it is now?
I've said the same thing for a long time. I read somebody the other day that kind of went through the car and said, here's where you could reduce the cost, and here's where you could reduce the cost, and you could make a Mercedes Model E, Model C, a Mercedes Model C, where it still has kind of the look, but it isn't all the goodies, Yeah.
I know. If that's the case, and it can even reduce it even if it's just another $5,000 cheaper, just that amount, the price elasticity, TAM, just total addressable market skyrockets 20% or something like that, I think, when I saw it. So whether or not the Tesla Semi can reach 50,000 per year, a lot of people are saying that that's way too high of a number. And that was what I initially had last year, so I just pushed it over. It might be too aggressive. You are the expert. You tell me, what's the number?
So I don't know. What we don't know, and maybe we'll find out, on March 1, maybe we won't, is what kind of line do they have now? Is the line that they have now really just almost hand built? And are we really only ever going to see 1 a day or 10 a week or something like that being made in that facility? Or do they have a decent line established, more like a pilot line that is, has the capability to do 100 a week or 200 a week? We don't have a clue. So, and then how long will it take them to actually get this thing done in Reno? Well, obviously they're not going to be making any semis this year in Reno. in Sparks. But by early next year, could they be going on what we just talked about, kind of a normal ramp, where it's, a couple of hundred the first week and a couple of thousand, the second month, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. But Elon said 50,000 a year in 2024. I don't think he just pulled that number out of the air. He has to have something in mind of how he's going to get there. Maybe they're going to build a tent in Sparks.
Yep. Yeah. So I might have to push this one, but that's the number that we put in. And then just for funsies, I put these last two in here. And I do actually have milestones that bleed over to the new year. But instead of putting those in, I just thought it'd remind everybody the massive, big hairy goals of batteries 1,000 gigawatt hour per year. And the Tesla market cap is eventually going to be bigger than Apple and Saudi Aramco. And there's other milestones that are for fun too. But yeah, this is a nice little list at this point. So if anybody has anything,
now I think you should add a milestone. I've got, and you and I may have already talked about my hobby horse on this one, but I think you should put another milestone as the point at which they've made 100 Optimuses.
I will put that in. It's just another one thing. Is it too long of a list? Is it too aggressive?
But you need
it probably
Optimus.
Belongs. Yeah,
you
it
need
belongs
Optimus
here.
in there.
Yeah, you're right. I do. I did think about that a lot. There is no Optimus here, and we probably should. But
So I'm thinking. Maybe I've already told you this. My thinking is that they're actually going to make 1,000 by hand this year. Okay.
Yes, you were saying that.
Not 300. I think they're going to make 1,000. I think it only makes sense that they make 1,000 this year. But if you want to take a small number as kind of the milestone number, as opposed to, let's call it a, more of a catalyst number, would be 1,000. I mean, if they announced that they had 1,000 Optimuses working in the factories, I think that would affect the stock.
Don't take this as an insult, Randy. Don't take this as an insult. You're a marketing dude. I'm going to listen to the robotics experts. And what I'm saying, we all saw the video on the actuators. Yeah. They're progressing faster than we think. It makes sense for a Tesla, who is a manufacturing firm, to be able to create robots very quickly. They already are creating various kinds of robots already in the factories. It's just that I'm tempered when I talk to these other guys who are saying, no, this is going to take a couple of years before, they make an announcement.
I'm just saying,
they show a demo.
Yeah, even in that couple of years to actually build by hand, useful robots so they can start generating data. That's all.
I think on AI Day 3, you're going to see a demo, and we're going to actually see not just a demo like they did last year. I think you're right. They're going to be examples of robots in the factory right now doing work already, taking over certain people's jobs. I think that's going to be the case. Yes. I don't know if you're going to get 1,000. No, but I don't think 1,000.
Well, see, that my thinking is that if they even cost $100,000 a piece, that's only $100 million. It's small change to get that many robots out there generating data and generating new tasks.
So for that reason, I can understand. Yeah, because it's all about the brains, not just the body. And in order to train the brains, you need to have like the million cars, 8 cameras each, sending videos back. Mm-hmm. How do you do that in a bot? And you're saying just let's create 1,000, and at least that's enough videos that we're going to track and be able to get going with our neural nets for the brain education, right? Yeah. Yep. For that reason, I can believe you, but it's just a matter of I'm being tempered as well. I'm talking to experts, and I want to hear someone else other than Randy telling me that I'll put it in right now.
I'm working on that interview. I've been asking. I know exactly who I want for the interview, and so far we haven't been able to agree on a day. But I've been working on that interview for a while.
If I can get James Dama to tell me that there's whatever number, I'll put that in right away. That's the one I'll put in. Not So, anyways.
All right. Well, okay. Now we got one last segment to this interview. It's the one that I enjoy the most, and that is, I just want to talk a little bit about who you are. I found out your age a little while ago, and I won't share it unless you want to share it. But you're kind of a duffer. No, I'm kidding. So you've been a product guy the first part of your career. Were you a product guy right away as a kid, or was that something that developed later?
Yeah. So people are shocked to find out that I'm actually a pharmacist. I told you this story, didn't I? No, actually, I did not tell you. I told somebody else.
No.
So what happened was I was second year university. My dad said, you need to become a pharmacist. I'm like, what? Because they bought 2 retail pharmacies. And so I became a director of pharmacy. And when I was doing that in a hospital in Canada, I actually fell in love with the pharmacy software. And I started to advise in the pharmacy, this development of this pharmacy software. I did an MBA, got a job at IBM, and I started working at software companies that built software in the healthcare industry. And so I am a product manager. That's my background. I've built many products. I've worked at very large corporations where I led big teams, very successful. Like I think the software that I led that is now the flagship product for 60% of hospitals. So IBM Watson Health, that's their product now, and 60% of hospitals are using it to improve mortality rates, complication rates, and so forth. I've started 3 startups, all of them, I think 2 in healthcare analytics reports, and then the final one in a digital health app, and using your phone's cameras to track your biometrics.
Okay, so now let's talk about the startups. Was that something that was always in the back of the mind? I really want to work for myself. I really want to be independent, or was that something that grew out of your life to that point, or how did that happen? Because most people, they're either idiot, people like me who can't stand working for other people and who start all kinds of companies. Anyway, tell me your story.
Yeah. My story is that it started generations ago. So every single one of my ancestors were all business owners on their own. And my mother comes from a family of 9 kids, and they're all they have their own businesses.
All of them. Wow.
Yep. And my aunt is actually a multi-billionaire in US dollars. So it's like, and many of them are women led founders at, like decades ago, when it was not, it was very unlikely for them to be launching companies. So it's almost like my 2 brothers, my sister, my parents were all entrepreneurs. And so it's kind of like built in, right? That's DNA. That's what I'm going to do. DNA, yeah. But for me, it's less about, I don't want to work for somebody. That's why I have worked for large corporations. It is more about the excitement about the future and what can I do to bend the future. And that I am just so enthralled with, technology, that technology can make a difference. And so, that's why I am an Apple guy, that I'm a all-in investor in Apple. And then I took all that and started investing in Tesla. I invested in Tesla in 2012. And so it was one of those things where, you saw one of the things you and I talked about our ages, and one of the benefits of being, been around the block is that I have seen some major changes in the world as we switch from analog to digital. Mm-hmm. And I was there when the internet was created. I was there when the mobile phone, right? Apple and Steve Jobs came out and showed the first mobile phone, and I bought that product. I need to be there for these moments in time. And so that's why, when I saw Tesla in 2012, you just knew this is the future. We're going to change, revolution the world. And so I stuck with it. But that's why I get excited, right? New products, new businesses, and seeing the future and then watching it unfold.
Interesting. So you're the early adopter. You're the guy that buys the first one, stand in line around the block at Apple to get the first iPhone.
I never did that, actually. No, but I am the first person. I have a very early Twitter account, although I never did a first tweet until just last year. But I have one. I was like, I have the very first one of the, as fast as I can. I want to be a Gmail account holder, everything like that. I want to be the first to try out any new product and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had a website. My manufacturing company had a website in 1994.
That's a year before internet.
The year that Al Gore invented the internet, we got a website. Right. And he called and said, "Randy, it's coming out. So please go ahead and get your website now." Yeah. Anyway, I totally identify with that first adopter kind of thinking. Yeah. So now I'm asking everybody this question. Tesla cannot do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
There is this there's this limitation in brain power. Elon has talked about it. Only so much bandwidth. He personally only has so much bandwidth. Then his employees only have so much bandwidth. And the overall company only has X number of employees in each kind of position and stuff. And then it seems like there's unlimited money, but let's just, for fun, we'll say there's also limited money. There's limited in terms of suppliers, raw materials, as well as if I want to build 50 factories, I got to have 50 teams of people with really great manufacturing or capability of building manufacturing plants the Elon way. So there's all these limitations. So we know that he's got 3 pillars. I have a slightly 3 different pillars for now because he's really not doing anything in solar. So my 3 pillars are the semi-truck, which could potentially just completely blow things up, energy storage, and auto. And we're on the way to going to 20 million cars. So I guess we could just keep doing what we're doing. That's all going to be fine. But I'd like to see us grow to 1 million semi-trucks, and I'd like to see us grow to over a terawatt of energy storage. Can we do all 3 of those at once? And if we can't, which one should get the emphasis? If you were techno king for a day, which would you emphasize?
None of them. It's robots.
It's robots.
Come on, buddy. You're 1,000 next year. As we said, robot is going to it's a nutty thing. It's a thing that's going to solve every problem in the entire world for all economies and all that stuff. I think it's doable. They're an AI company, they're a manufacturing company. That's what they're going to do. So, so just a quick comment about what you made. So I did an interview with Joe Justice, and Joe worked at Tesla, and he's kind of ran the agile division. And what he said was that what Tesla does and no other company does as well is the rate of innovation, right? The ability for the company to innovate and immediately address a problem or create a new division.
Right.
So actually, I don't think that they are limited in terms of what industries they're going to get into. And Joe showed me, the entire map of all the companies in the world, and in the, let's say the NASDAQ or the Dow, and then you can see all the industries that Tesla will eventually get into. So did you know that Tesla was going to get into the lithium refinery business 2 years ago? Did you know that Tesla was going to get into robots 2 years ago? No. And so, and then people are saying, Elon bought, he's doing SpaceX and Boring, and now he just bought Twitter. Do you think that this is his last company that he's going to buy? No. 2 years from now, he said that I won't be selling any more Tesla stock until 2 years from now or whatever. But at that point, guaranteed 3 years from now, he will have bought yet another company, whether it's to solve world hunger, whether it's to create these, whatever thing he thinks is important, at the top important thing. And so I actually think that it's unlimited for Tesla, because the company itself is the product that he's built, and it's self-organizing, and it could self-replicate, and it's a neural net on its own. It learns and builds on its own. So there is no reason why, if it can do robots, and it can do lithium refineries, and it could do megapack batteries, and it could do AI, why would you say that it can't do, let's say, VTOL, right? Or he's talked about that, or the next thing would be homes. They'll create, most likely they'll get into a home, right? A modern,
they're partnering now with home builders, and so will he ever actually build homes himself? Maybe.
He needs that for Mars. And so you'll create this, a full ecosystem of a home, and then they've got the HVAC system that he's been touting. You've got the, energy, and it's going to be a full experience. Anyways, so no, I don't think that anything's stopping them to be able to create the next thing. But if I were him, and I know he has, so that one of the things that did bother me was, his focus was sustainable energy. It was in creating cars. Then it became, then all of a sudden last year, he said it's now robots. First it was then it was FSD, now it's robots. And so then it became like, oh, crap, come on, man. Solve, finish these before you move on. But I think robots is the end game.
There's a rule with regard to entrepreneurs, don't you? Entrepreneurs,
but he's not a regular entrepreneur. There's no rule to stop Elon.
entrepreneurs only finish 70% of the business, and then they have to move on. It's squirrel.
Squirrel. No, that part is Elon, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But my point is that what he has built is the company.
Yeah. No, I'm confident that you're correct on everything you just said, except I still have this sense of, when I ran my factory, I was a little tiny factory, only 100 people. But we had, I figured that my job was 5 things. I had the manufacturing part, I had the product part, I had the sales part, I had accounts receivable part, and then I had the office kind of management part. So those were the 5 things I needed to oversee. In no year could I adequately do all 5.
Right.
There would always be an emphasis on these 2 or these 3, and the other 2 would kind of like get the back seat. And then the following year, something would be wrong with those 2. And so I'd have to switch my emphasis. And so I think in terms of bandwidth, that's kind of, and you kind of almost said the same thing. Well, now it's robots, it's full self-driving. So there's I think that there's a bandwidth issue for companies as well as for owners.
Yeah.
And part of it just has to do with emphasis and with what you've got top of mind every day. Sometimes we would also refer to product champions. If we didn't have a product champion for a product, it would die. And so if nobody's product championing the solar division right now, well, then, it's not going to do as well as if they had some hot shot over there that was just out there every day knocking on Elon's door saying, hey, I need, So anyway, I got one last question for you.
This year it'll be energy. March 1st, we're going to hear about their big plan. And then next year or future, they'll start talking about robots as they make progress. Yeah.
All right. So now we switch to philosophy.
Yeah.
Everything that you and I are talking about, we have this world of abundance.
Yeah.
We already are abundant. I mean, this is the first time in recorded history where virtually almost nobody is dying of hunger. I mean, it's just virtually nobody. And there's not even that many people going to bed hungry. In the world, in third world nations, most of the people that are going to bed hungry right now, it's because they're living under a dictator who's limiting their access. Right. So the world's going to become more abundant. And we saw what happened with South Korea and Singapore and Tokyo, who were bombed to the ground, in the 50s, and now they're the 3 of the safest, most technologically advanced cultures in the world. When we become all that, when every third world nation, okay, we won't go that far. In an age of abundance that is even more amazing 7-10 years from now than now, what does that do culturally? What do we do with ourselves? What is going to happen? Do we have more people like the Japanese who are not even having babies and aren't even having sex? I mean, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, with the famous quote, right? Strong times make weak men.
Yes.
And then, at one point, everybody said, literally 6 months ago, everybody said, oh, when robots come in and all this new technology, that's okay. Because now, humans are going to be able to focus on creativity, and that's something you can enjoy, and you'll be much more creative. And then we see a month ago, Chat GPT coming out and have greatest lyrics for songs, greatest poems, greatest art, greatest essays written. So now I'm like crushing my head going, I don't know what we would do if you can't even be the great creative artist yourself. And the answer by some people is that it doesn't matter if a computer can do it. You can do it just for your own benefit. I don't know what's going to happen to us. I don't know. And part of the reason what I'm doing now, why I'm doing these videos like you are, is because I'm having fun. Mm-hmm. It makes my mind I get excited with new tech, and I'm enjoying doing videos. And so for me, I'm going to be fine, because as new tech keep coming, that's what gets me excited. And so bring it on. You solve cancer? Oh my God, let me do a deep dive on that. You figured out how to do, quantum mechanics and computers, I'm like, I want to learn more about that. So for me, it's like I would just learn. I don't know about the people who don't have that thirst for knowledge, and they're just going to sit there. It's going to be the Wall-E world, right?
Yeah, I know. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies, only because it makes your mind kind of bend around what is that world going to look like, and because we do need purpose in life. And, what is that purpose going to look like? And will it be an age of we go back to the 1700s, when it was this Enlightenment period, and everybody's just thinking all the time. But now it's 8 billion people that all they do is think. What does that look like?
When you have Neuralink, and then you just look at your lights and turn it on, and I'm talking to you, and I don't have to move my mouth, and we're just communicating. I don't know what we're doing, man.
Well, there's another movie that nobody even knows about. I saw this, and I can't remember the name of the movie. I can't even find it, where these people are sitting in the bus. And they're sitting along on the sides of the bus, staring across the other side. And they're all just staring. They don't have a newspaper in front of them. Right. They don't have a phone in front of them. They're just staring. And you're like, why are these people just staring? Well,
why would be on a bus then?
No, they have the contact lenses or their cell phones. Or
yes,
their
I've seen. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
So the world is going to be crazy. The philosophy of it is something which is, I think, people should be spending a lot more time thinking about that right now. But I thank you for your answer. And hey, this has been great. I'm going to be back with you on your show on Monday. Maybe that'll be out Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not sure. And I look forward to that. And we'll have to do this again too on my show.
Absolutely. That was fun. Thank you so much, Randy. Appreciate it.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.